Hi, everyone. Thank you very much for tuning in to today's episode of How to Product. This is the 8th episode, and we will be talking about product management, especially what they won't teach you in courses, teach you in books. And we have the pleasure of welcoming Dami on board this episode to share his experience. Dami has a lot of experience. I wouldn't want to spoil it for you, and so I would let Dami to allow Dami introduce himself. Hi, Dami.
Allow Dami to shoot Dami on the feet.
Allow Dami to show Dami. Hi, Dami. May we meet you?
Hi everyone. My name is Dami, and it's Dami for short. And I like to consider myself as a solution-oriented person, bringing value to customers, be it in B2B or B2C. And that's what I've done in different subsectors of IT across different industries.
Okay, yeah, thank you so much, Dami. That was so lovely. We're so excited to have you on board, especially the fact that you are a solution provider. A lot of people are faking the funk, and I'm very optimistic that you would share what it actually means to provide solutions and add values to a company or to an industry. Without any further ado, if you wouldn't mind telling us a couple of things around your experiences so far as a product manager, as a solution provider, basically in the digital transformative space or digital transformation space.
All right. Okay, so thank you, Josh, for at least having me again. I think the first thing is to first look at product management itself because digital transformation it's a slightly different ballgame coming from IT management or product angle, but because of the way the world is going right now, companies are migrating, they're digitalizing their process, optimizing it for better output or better performance or to remain competitive in that global tech space. So as a product manager functioning in that area, there are many skills that are required. So what I didn't mention earlier is that I have an IT infrastructure background, and so that's coming into software engineering, designs and all the other stuff you have in software engineering, then moving on to product. It makes it a natural place of operation for me, and because some technicalities are required, but if we want to I think we should narrow it down to product management, and then from there we can scale back up to digital transformation so that it makes sense at the end of the day. So for product management, there are a lot of things, like you rightly said, that you see around, what do I call them now? Training institutions. Trying to say, hey, come 6 weeks, product management, don't worry, we're going to make it good. And then you go, and then you come out, and then you realize that, I'm as confused as I was 5 minutes. What do I do? And I kept saying that product management, I think it starts in my experience though, because one thing I've realized is that product management, there's no one size fits all thing to it. It has to do with the stage of your product or the kind of company you're working with. But if a company decides to adopt agile, and they are open to it, because some will say, don't worry, we are agile. Blah, blah, blah. When you get there, it's a waterfall. That's what they are. As in so rigid, hard to move, and all the other stuff you have. So, but if you're lucky and you're open to agile, that's a good place to start. So I've seen trainings around product management everywhere, and I've had questions by open my charts to see people saying, how did you get into product management? I'm like, I did get into product management. I didn't remember. So because I believe that there are some ingredients that are essential to product management that I think individuals who are seeking to play in that space should have. And it's not something I'm kind of craft up in my head.
Yep.
It is there in the name, product management.
Mm-hmm.
So you see the name and you see that there are two words in it, and the word is telling you something. The first one is the product.
Yep.
The second is the management. So at every point in time as a product manager, you'll be wearing different hats, right? And these hats are largely categorized into either the product hat or you are playing in the management space.
Wow.
So if you understand that, then you now begin to look at tools and skills that are necessary for you to become what you need to be. And also, before that, I'll go to management first. Let's handle management and see how it plays. Management is essentially in an organization, you're more or less leading or coordinating the operations of that organization internally. So you're coordinating cross-functional teams, you're speaking with different stakeholders within your organization, some external, and then you're trying to source for requirement, identify pain points, and see what tool or resources you have to execute what your product, which is on the other side, needs to become great. And then with all of those, they must also match and align with the company's strategy or goal.
Yeah.
For which they were the company came into being. So management side has two subsectors in my own understanding. You have leadership and then you have communication.
Right.
Because oftentimes we'll compare, even in Agile, it was somewhere around that Scrum guy saying about management and leadership, comparing, telling you the difference between both.
Yeah.
But since that leadership is under management, in our case as product managers, so it's ideal to be a leader, and to lead means that you are directing people to do things without a certain influence, especially because these people are professionals. You might have engineers who has 30 years experience.
Yes.
And you are just 5 years into it. Like, no,
Yes.
I don't want to be like this. And I'll be like, oh, no. There are several dependencies to this, and then you can't do this. And then be like, this is what I want. And then conflict starts.
True.
So you must understand the place of leadership. You must also understand the place of communication. I think I'll talk a little bit more on communication right now, because the communication has to be very good as a product manager. And maybe in school they don't teach this, but you should know that it's also very important to know that communication is key to your success as a product manager, because it is how you handle relationship or communications in whether when you're writing it or when you're talking to people or speaking.
Yeah.
You must know what points you want to deliver and how to deliver it, especially to whom you're delivering the point. Because what you say to an African man and he would laugh, please don't try with the Brit. It might not go down well.
True,
so you must also understand it. Then I think another part of communication that I think is key is your gesture when communicating to people. You can do like this, and it means different thing to different race or different people with different background, and you might throw some of your key stakeholders off point, and then they become difficult, and you don't know why. So your body language, your means of communication has to be crystal clear and comprehensive. So when you sense, maybe even if you're doing your user story or you're writing requirement. It has to be clear. It has to be detailed. That's on communication. The same thing you bring to board when you are speaking with your stakeholders. Before you approach them, know what you want to take out of that conversation. So do you want them to achieve something, and find the best possible way to tell them without instructing them to do it. So you'd I'm trying to get an example that's ideal now. You know how in the UK you're doing something wrong and someone sees you say, "Oh, I'll do it this way." And
Yes.
and that's your boss. And then you're like, "Oh, if I were you, I'll do it this way."
Yeah.
He's trying to tell you do it this way.
Yeah.
Without letting you know that it's saying do it the way. So you need to adopt such means of communicating your ideas. Another skill that is also very important, and this sits between communication and management. That's building relationship. Your ability to network and build relationship. It is key. So you have people, for instance, you might have professionals you're working with, you're doing your backlog refinement, you're talking about roadmap and creating. So it's easier for you if you have some sort of relationship with them. I don't mean to the extreme, but it wouldn't hurt to discuss the weather. It wouldn't hurt to kind of have a kind of communication, conversation, icebreaker with them, so that they see you and then they can discuss things that are not even related to the job. So it's easier, and it also would help you to resolve conflict somewhere down the line very fast. So that's, speaking of conflict, now I'm going to jump over to leadership. Leadership doesn't make you superior. It just makes you it just puts you in a position where you can be easily targeted by management or by your stakeholders. Wow. So part of the tools that you need to survive there is you need wisdom because you're dealing with people. Like I said, your product is successful if you are successful at managing people, and that's on period, either your internal stakeholders or your customer, regardless. So if you can figure out a way to lead, you're the leader, but you're willing to go out of your way to solve problems for your team members. A part of the problem could be customer requirement. If you have customer requirement that you want to put to your engineers or to your tech lead, and then you don't know exactly how to write it, just wrote it anyhow, just give it to him. It has a problem. It can't work because that is not detailed enough.
It's not clear. Yes.
It's not clear. So you need to find a way to, your relationship with him would help, because he can just call you off without sending you an email officially to say, "Oh, this thing and this thing you mentioned here, I don't understand it." Then you can just go over it with him on the phone, and then case closed. But if you don't have that relationship with him, it becomes difficult. Then conflict resolution will be part of the skills you need to have. Ability to solve problems or conflicts when they arise within your team or out external. Those are very key for leadership. You might look at team bonding activities to also, because stages of team formation, they call it. So you must also know when someone joins your team, what stage they are.
Yeah, true.
So that you can also help them. So in all I've said, under management, you would have leadership and communication. You need to work on effective communication, and on your leadership style, you need to adopt a leadership style that works for your team. I wouldn't say use this or use that, but you know what you're building, and then you figure it out. But personally, you need to be an empathetic leader who would also understand in advance. So if you have someone with some form of disability come onto your team, you should know what they would need without asking. And then there are different temperaments for the different people have different temperaments, right?
Absolutely.
So you need to also know, to gauge, this is Joshua's temperament. If I push him beyond here, he's gonna blow up. So you must know how to manage it, how to manage people. They will say caress their ego, but they shouldn't let it now affect the job. You must also know when to stand your ground. Because I know I've seen it within teams where people are trying to turn the ship around stylishly, but you must also know when to stand your ground and know why you're standing on that ground. So communication underneath, you need to have leadership. So under management, you need to have leadership and communication. I think that is very, very important for the management part of your product. Then,
so before you go to the product side now, you've said a number of things that are very profound. But before you even started out talking about the product management being a compartmentalized kind of word, you have the product, you have the management side. You said something about going into some organizations that claim to be agile, and it will make your life easy if they are actually agile. I can relate to that, but I want you to touch a little bit more around that environment, because I believe that both communication and leadership being under the management side would be affected or would be dependent on how agile that company really is, because there are things that you may probably not be able to effect changes on if they are not really agile. Communication could be one-sided if there is no agility. So I just want you to expound on what it means for a place to be truly agile that will aid the product and the management side. So we're speaking towards the management side now. How would an agile or a truly agile place help with the management of your product management balance? If you get my question.
All right. Agile itself, it aims to find the best possible way to deliver the greatest value to customer at steady increments. That's what you're doing with agile. And part of the problem would be the structure of the organization and the type of people that you have working in that organization. But I speak specifically to the structure of the organization and the mode of operation, if because it's difficult to change people, right? And then don't forget, you'd be lucky to work in an organization that is just about 5 years, 10 years.
Yeah.
But sometimes you're walking into an establishment that is already 300 years old, and they know how they do what they do.
Yep.
Even though you've been hired to come transform the place digitally. So what I've done in time past, if it's a contract, you can only recommend because you're not permanent. And they will take the recommendation into advisory implementation. It might not be your headache. But if you're working there as a staff, and so in fact, before you would even work there, I think we should start with the interview process. So I think a very important question to ask when you are, a very important question to ask before you get hired is to ask the hiring manager, that's the person you'll be reporting to, what success would look like for you in the team and what the current challenges are. Because, like I said, the job description might have told you, in fact, they might even ask for your Scrum certification.
They sell a lot. They sell a lot on the job description.
But they don't exactly understand. If even the guy writing it out doesn't know what Scrum or just use like another fancy word, everybody doing Agile, let's call Agile. But you realize that they don't know, so you can't blame them. But if you have that knowledge, you can coach. I mean, at that moment in time, you're working as a Scrum Master. So you need to be able to have a clearly defined role or responsibility. In fact, for me, it's kind of a red flag, except if that is on discussion that, see, we don't have anything agile here. We just want to implement it. And this is what we want to do. I know it's part of the things I'm working on, the process and the training for the existing staffs to on agile methodologies and how it can help them to become more efficient at what they do. Then I know there's somewhere down the line there has to be training. Somewhere down the line they have to speak with. So I know my mind is prepared.
At least.
But for organizations that was not communicated during interview and you've been hired, so two things. So I'm a Christian. I would say first thing is that you need to pray to God to come and help you, because now you've been delivered. So people who don't know what to do with you.
True.
So because what that will create is that it creates conflict, especially between you, the PM, and some of your key stakeholders. Because by nature we're not open to change, and then you're here to say, oh, we are changing how this button looks. They'll be like, what are you saying? That button has been there since like when?
And it works.
It does the job. Yeah. So what's the problem?
If it's not broken, do not fix it.
Do not fix it. Why are you fixing it? So you will explain. They don't understand it.
No evidence.
There's no evidence, bro. So that's why it's very important to know before you go in, so that your mind is prepared to say, oh, this company are moving into agile, are looking to adopt agile framework or methodologies in their operation. If they are not, there are subtle ways of speaking to your direct manager or your line manager. Remember, this is where your management skills kicks in. So this product is on the side. It does not even, because if the foundation is destroyed, there's nothing the product can do. So you need to also understand that. And part of the skills that I think I picked up over time from business analysts is that they have a way to quickly identify key stakeholders and key stakeholders' interest. So we need to spot who and who have some form of influence in that place of work and what their interests are in the organization. So where there was a place I worked where they told me, agile now, everybody was happy. I was happy. Where's my team? They said, are you over your team? Everybody. But when I got there, I saw like 20 engineers, one product manager. No, nothing shows. Sprint can go on for 3 months.
That's now a marathon. That's not a sprint.
I'm not. See, right now, I'm not lying. Though a bit exaggerated, but I'm not lying. You don't have a clearly defined sprint. Your Jira board is looking tattered and all. And then during meeting, they was like, it's supposed to be agile. I was like, oh yeah, I know. But so what I think I learned from there as well. Because when I got in, I was so enthusiastic. New hire now, you have energy to say, okay, this change must come.
And
so so I all I did was just figure out who the main engineering guy is. Then I had a meeting with him. Then we discussed. He agrees. He's aware. Then I took it to the hair, and then the issues was like, oh no, we need to deliver this one too. We need to deliver this one to next week. They paid. We need to do, because it was a SaaS thing. So they paid. We have to deliver it. The features need to be ready, and then there was no product backlog. So I wouldn't tell if it was waterfall or agile Pro Max. I don't know.
Agile
things were just rolling on their own, right? So I did created the process, communicated the process, followed the due process. But there was always one superpower somewhere that just would come and change things. So that's if that happens as a PM, as we are discussing, going back to your question,
Yeah.
is that you need to find a way to have a plan so you need to capture your process. You need to have a sit down with your key stakeholders, all of them, all, not one left out.
Together or individually?
So at first you need to speak with them individually.
Yep.
Because it might be difficult to bring them all together into one space
for the first
at
time.
the same time. So for the first time. So what you need to do is to find a way to. I know senior executives are really busy, so you need to keep that meeting really short. So before you go armed with why, what, and the result. Because at that level, they don't need plenty story like the what I'm doing right now. They want to know why they should do what you're saying, because what they've been doing is yielding results. So you can start with, what we've done thus far has earned us 10 million customers that provides £100 million every month.
Yeah.
So you first need to acknowledge what the current system produces or brings to the table.
As a basis.
Then you now say, okay, this is what it is. But if we adopt this, these and these and these are the results that we expect by this time. So that time you can at least get some attention. It might not be all, but get some attention. And at that meeting, you don't need them to sign on anything.
Yeah.
Just let them be in the know. And because they are busy, that meeting should not be so long. So you keep it short, put your conversation across. At the end of the meeting, send an email, detail that. And if you can, send it ahead, but I trust you. I think it is, they won't read it. So don't.
Yeah.
So, but at the end of the meeting, let them know that you'll be sending an email to follow up, and that make sure that you get the time to follow up on them based on that when they've had the time to go over it. So don't do too much, just leave it that way and go. Then get to your next stakeholders, You know that I'm talking to you, Joshua, say, dear CEO, this is what we want to do, this is why, this is the result, this is where we need to get it. There might be questions. If he asks you questions, if he shows interest immediately, fine. But CEO will be like, oh yeah, okay. So we are looking to do this, but I'll send an email with the comprehensive list so I can go over it, sir. And then the moment he agrees to check the email, okay, so I've looked through your calendar. I think you're busy. You're less busy on Tuesday. I can do a 20-minute quick call to circle back on this, but I'll send you a reminder during the week. And if he agrees to it, you're good. Don't push it too hard. So that way you at least spark some interest, then you move on. Yeah. Check with all the. So it's very important to know who your key stakeholders are, the ones that can cause you trouble somewhere down the line. Have them on your side, right? So, and for relationship building, you need to have some form of relationship with them. Professional, but let it go to figure out where their interest really lies. Yeah. Some people like football, so know their club. Right.
Laugh for me. I don't watch football.
No.
I asked them, do you like music instead?
So know what they like. Some of them would play golf. Yeah. You can pick up interest. You can just turn up in a meeting with a jersey of their club. I remember speaking to a Newcastle fan.
Wow.
As normally we don't talk, like outside of work,
yeah.
Nothing. As in, if you say hi, you just hi, and it's gone. But I need to have a meeting with him to get some requirement. This is a real life experience for me.
Wow.
So the previous week, I think this was last year, Newcastle was going to play PSG in Newcastle. Okay. So I'd figured, oh, he's a Newcastle fan. Okay, thank you. So I went online, bought Newcastle jersey.
Wow.
Bought Newcastle jersey, and
I
turned up
hope
in
you
my meeting.
I hope you
Turned up in
know
my
more.
meeting.
You know a lot about Newcastle, so he doesn't go like, so what do you think about this? And be like, actually.
No. So how I did this was when I turned up in Newcastle, I didn't talk about football at all.
Right.
At all. But he knows this jersey. So that kind of it might seem impractical, but the conversation went down pretty well. We moved on. Nothing bad happened. I got what I needed from him. He was happy. Then we spoke more thereafter. Then he knew that I wasn't a Newcastle fan. I'm just a football fan. And then I could mention some of their players and the games they've won, their performance, which these are informations online, man. It can't be that hard. So yeah, we should walk into a place where they claim agile, but they don't know agile. So when you get there are things you need to look out for, and the most important would be to identify your key stakeholders, know what works for them, be as professional as possible, but where possible, you can also try to build some form of relationship. It will help you a long way. Then you can now say, okay, let them have a faint idea of what you're planning as to how you want to move them from whatever it is that they currently have to a proper, and let them know what the outcome would be. Don't say agile is what everybody is saying, agile is good. No, let it be based on facts, let it be based on metrics. Show your data, and also show that you know what they currently have and what is given to them. Please be sure that data you're speaking about is accurate. So you know what they're currently making, number of customers they have. If it's a B2B, how many people are using their APIs and all. You just have your data and let them know the import of moving to agile. And if for your team, so that's your stakeholder level.
Yeah.
For your key stakeholder, for your team, if you have, like I had about 20 something engineers and designers and all, just split them into your Scrum team. It means that in that organization, you're going to be having what is called scaled Scrum, right?
Yeah.
I think that's what they call it. So if that's what you'll be having, then it means you need to create room for either Scrum Master or product owners who can double for both in each team, or can go through. Then you should have to figure out what the structure is that works for you down the line. But don't force it too hard, otherwise you force your way out of the organization.
Absolutely.
So that's to my answer to your question.
Wow, that's a lot. That's really a lot, because in talking about practicalities, sometimes it's a very shiny idea to say, oh, let's go agile, but you need to understand the powers that be and know how to circumvent some of those hurdles or jump through them if you can jump over the hurdles, right? But what you said is very, very key, and I've benefited from your strategy, basically creating relationship with your key stakeholders. I cannot emphasize that enough. That is invaluable asset in your arsenal, because when things begin to go wrong, and they will go wrong, you need some people.
Sure.
Yes, they would because of the relationships you've built, you've earned their trust. So even though the situation on ground is messy, they can easily step back and isolate the situation from your person. Because the danger of not creating relationship is that they will lump you as a person and the situation together. So they will discard both the child and the birthwater, if that makes sense. But creating that relationship helps them to zoom out. Even when you hit a hiccup or you have a friction, they can easily, okay, how do we solve this? Rather than trying to be confrontational against you to say, oh, you did this, you messed this up, and that has been very helpful for me. I can tell you a lot of examples where it's really come through that, oh, I had a pre-existing relationship with this stakeholder, and we're talking platonic relationship, of course. But when you have anything that has to now do with work and maybe the product you're delivering for them, and it's not going as planned, they can easily step back and say, okay, Josh, how do we rectify this? This is a messy situation, and how do we come out of it? And then you can easily talk about it. Otherwise, you would get a lot of antagonism, you get a lot of friction, and people would rarely even give you the amount of trust you need to function as a product manager. So yes, those are very, very valid key points you shared right there. And I think if you've not had this kind of situation facing you in the face, what Dami has said will come in handy when you face the situation, because there's no doubt there is no doubt that you would face a situation where you're trying to effect change, but people are at the center of that change, and these are people that are probably there. They probably have the hippo complex, so they have the highest opinion, and if you don't know how to work with them from the side and sort of reel them in gradually into what you're trying to do, of course you're giving them evidence, because it's not about just trying to sugarcoat things or gloss it over with your relationship. There needs to also be an evidence that you've done your homework to tell them the impact of this new change you're bringing on board and how it will propel their goal right as a business. Otherwise, you're in for a very, very bumpy ride and you're on your own. Yeah, thank you so much, Dami, for sharing that. That's very, very profound. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
One thing you said about communication. So before we move to the product side, that will be the second part of this conversation. One thing you said about communication under management is the cultural context. There are times you speak to somebody from a particular background or a descent, and the information you're passing across is perceived a certain way. Yeah. Whereas if you say the same thing to someone else, it is perceived a different way. Now, we have a lot of EDI going on in many organizations talking about equality, diversity, and inclusion. And so with that comes a lot of cross-cultural infusion into the company structure. So you have people from various backgrounds, and you are now a product manager in all of that mix, right? It goes beyond saying the theoretical understanding different temperaments or emotional intelligence and all that. I would want to dig into your experience of practical ways of managing this kind of situation, because it is already happening in many organizations. They are very much advocating for EDIs, and for many product managers that are probably not very diverse, so to speak, with different cultural setting or different kinds of people, how would they finding themselves in this kind of situation? How would they manage to get through it and make sure that they are communicating very effectively without pissing people off or stepping on toes?
All right. So this question, I think, is for PM and his team. So because it's slightly different when you're addressing this with your senior executives. So if it's within the team, so I took an EDI course, part of my on-the-job training once, and one of the examples they gave was someone had a family issue and then went home, took some time off. So they had the new project coming. So she heard about the new project and she felt, one of the ways she can deal or get over the issue is to get on a new project. So she sent in the message that she want to come in. And when she came in, the manager, her manager, felt, she's still new and a bit rusty.
Yeah. So
why don't they get one of the new intakes to fill in for her on the project? And then it happens that sent her into depression because she felt rejected. So she summoned courage, told the manager that she told someone else on the team that she would really love to be on the project, but she was devastated when she realized that the manager had gone with someone else.
Yeah.
Do you get? So that's part of what you're saying, that beyond saying something one way and it's being perceived the other way,
yeah,
it is very important to know your team members. You see, part of the things I really liked about Scrum is that the team is small.
Yes.
1 on 10 or 10 people, not a big deal. You can know things about them that are even personal. Not so personal, but personal.
Unless you
So,
have a team of 20 Scrum.
no, that's not Scrum anymore. That's something else.
Yeah, but that's just
Understandable.
by the way,
So,
yeah.
but I understand that this could also happen in a scaled Scrum team or organization where you have different Scrum teams and you are the product manager for all the Scrum teams. So it might take you a longer time to get to know people that well. So that is why you would have someone that seems to be leading, even though Scrum doesn't promote leadership.
Yeah.
All equal, all able to contribute. But you would need someone that knows how to deliver issues to people. That's one. Then, but the most important of my points, which is in response to your question, is we can't overemphasize relationship.
Right.
You cannot overemphasize relationship. So if the person perceived you to be bossy and you said something and it come off wrongly and the person perceived it wrongly, that preconceived notion about you,
yes,
and what you said, the whole place is on fire.
So it's a confirmation bias in that sense.
So thank you. So that's why, as the manager, remember, part of your name or part of your role, you are called the product manager. You are the manager. See it as a pastor in a church or an imam in the mosque. Let us not use that. What is important is that you're able to lead that team to success. So you need to understand, the moment you bring an Indian person and you're going on a retreat in your team, please, there will be a lot of curries and spicy food. Otherwise, if you're giving them British food, they don't understand it. You might offend people.
True.
It goes as far as knowing details about cultural background. It might not be that you'd stereotype them into where they came from, but show some effort that you're trying to even get to know them. So smile when you see them. Ask them questions. When they are failing, show that you are a reliable friend in those times of need. Identify where they are failing at. Don't be confrontational about it. Pull them, if you can, pull them out of the team. Let them see why it's important for them to speed up on what they are doing or to change the ways or their manner of approach to certain things. Then ask them if they have issues or challenges that are preventing them from working as they should. If they identify, because sometimes they know what these things are. So if they can tell you that, this is the problem I'm going through, this is what I'm facing, then you can empathize. That's why I said, as a leader, empathy is key. It doesn't make you dull or make you now the weak one. That's why, I said empathy, and you should be able to stand your ground. You should be able to say, no, this is what we're doing.
At certain points, yeah.
So at certain point. So, but if in the event of this, happening, you said something and it was perceived wrongly, and you get to know, then you now be wearing at that point your conflict resolution cap. So you need to go to the person and first apologize. It doesn't mean you're wrong, but it just shows that you feel what they feel or what they felt, as the case may be, and let them know why you said that thing. You might have said it from your experience and all that. Okay, like the example I gave, someone just came back, is a bit rusty. She might not be able to, take on every project. Let us ease her into the system. But she wants to go to where the action is. And you are saying, let's ease her in. So you see, So
That's true.
it's when you have that conversation. So a manager should not be far from his team. You should know when they have a newborn baby.
Yeah.
You should know when they are going out. Then if you create time to bond, it also would help you to know them, right? So we create time to bond. We can say, okay, we've had a productive sprint, blah blah blah. Maybe during your sprint retrospective, you can bring in some chocolates, bring in some things just to
Yeah.
get everybody talking. It's very important to have that emotional intelligence as a project manager. That would help you to solve that kind of problem. But again, don't forget, always look out for everybody in your team. Not profiling per se, but know what works. But
Personas,
if you don't
maybe.
know how they're going to perceive it and you're not so close yet,
Yeah.
don't say, oh, somebody did this. Just, you can put the whole team together and address the issue, not the person. So the person will get the message and they will make amendments. But if you really want good results, you can put them aside and have a one-on-one chat that way.
Wow. So it still boils back to understanding people and creating relationships.